This podcast is supported by listeners like you. We're grateful for your tax-deductible donation at newthoughtphilly.org or the link in the episode description.
A practical prayer is a prayer that works.
These discussions between Reverend Bill Marcioni and Carol Lawrence dive into the details of how it works and how to work it.
Reverend Bill is a New Thought minister and the author of Practical Prayer for Real Results.
Your new life begins with a new thought.
Carol Lawrence is on a spiritual quest, finding the New Thought teaching after decades on the pulpit in 3 different traditional denominations.
I've got some questions.
Together, they're exploring the philosophy and activities that come together from many of the world's religions to create the practical spirituality that is New Thought.
Welcome to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni.
You had an exciting time after we did the episode a couple of weeks ago about manifesting, that it started to some stuff started coming up for you.
I don't even know if the word exciting captures it.
So do tell.
Okay, so I had to figure out what was going on. You said that it's God who manifests. And if anybody was watching it, I kind of didn't bristle at it, but, that was just a new way for me it was new, the idea, because it's like co-creating, you think you're doing it and you think you do certain things and then this manifestation happens and blah, blah, blah. So, I'm always open. So when you say something that shakes me, I'll just say, okay, let me sit with this for a minute. But let me tell you this, I didn't have to sit with it. Manifestations barraged me. And I didn't know what they were because you look for one thing and a whole bunch of other stuff is happening in your world. And because I'll confess, I'm a writer, so I'm writing constantly, but I'm not a good journaler. So I'll put things out there and okay, so sometimes I forget that, When the $1 billion shows up, I'll remember that one. But, I put some things out there and I forget. So anyway, I'm having this barrage of things just happening. Not things, but they're coming in my head. And I'm thinking, when did this happen? Like, what is going on here? Is this what I asked for? It's not bad. It's just, you ever have like a barrage of different ideas and different things that put you in a different direction? And I'm thinking, I'm not sure I requested this. But then I thought about, God being the one manifesting. And I said, okay, so apparently I put some things out there. And since we're not supposed to deal with, what do you say, detach yourself from the outcome?
Yeah.
Certainly things may come back in a way that I don't recognize, which is what was happening. I put it out there and I'm expecting, this and maybe a little bit different, but not like you doing, not like this coming here.
Was the stuff that was happening bad?
No, it's just things that made me think about things very differently, or things that I might not have been considering at the time. And I'm thinking, it's not throwing me off the track. It's like more. Here's more. Here's more. And then I'm thinking, well, whoa, I have to do this, this, and this. And then it's just stuff kept coming. And I said, that's what he meant about God manifesting. I said, well, I got to watch what I tell you because I wasn't prepared for the barrage of ideas and intuitions, and which, I'm an intuitive. So I'm used to it. But a barrage of them like this has been coming the last couple of weeks. I said, I'm not talking to this guy about anything.
Well, there are a couple of different ways that you can engage with that, and obviously one of them is to stop talking to me because it's one of the triggers that makes this happen. I think there are probably some other ways to do that as well. And the thing that's worth looking at is that when we have an idea and we're kind of in the groove of what's going on in our life, and then we say we're going to open up to a new possibility, and suddenly, not just a new possibility, but a new possibility, and then another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and they're all really exciting. Either we can get the message that new possibilities are surrounding us, and it's part of our living in an infinitely abundant universe, and we can pick and choose the ones that we want. And it's also possible that there's some stuff that we've been filling our time with up until now that we can let go of because we've got something different that we're going to do. You know, Tarzan is swinging through the jungle, and in order to get to the next vine, he needs to let go of the one that he was on. Otherwise, there's no progress.
Absolutely. And it's like, here's more information that will help you. Do you know what I mean? It's just, here's more that'll help you. And I'm thinking, I fired Pinterest about a week ago because I didn't understand it. I understand a lot of other platforms, but that one I just wasn't getting. And so I fired him. I'm tired of getting these emails showing up every day, and then I'm getting 2 or 3. So I just blasted them out. I did some research on something I was doing, and it said that Pinterest is your best friend. So I thought, all right, let me go back to the God of Pinterest and repent. So I had to go back and say, yeah, I got to repent at Pinterest. And I thought it was funny and amazing at the same time, because Pinterest has been around, my awareness forever, and I just ignore it. And then bang. And I got on a couple of videos to see if I was hearing it right. You're getting it right, girl. Go back and fix it. And I did. And I just laughed. I laughed at that. I said, now, you see, there goes that manifesting stuff. Like, I was not expecting this. I wanted a result, but not the way it was coming. So, of course, I thought of you, and I said, I'm not telling him nothing else like this.
It's an infinite intelligence.
Yes.
It is so, and that means it's so much bigger than us, that when we say, well, I'm part of this infinite intelligence and I'm going to do this, and it turns out that this isn't really going to be long-term in our best interest, the news will make its way to us. And in this case, it wasn't catastrophic. It was you firing Pinterest and then having to rehire Pinterest. But it was all the energy that you had about, I don't need this anymore. This isn't working for me. Who I am is this. And then it turns out that the universe is saying, who you are is this, and a little of this too.
It was just complete. But now how does this relate? Remember I said step 5, like the letting go, the so it is, right? I always love that part, just because to me it's just so real, right? I'll let it go and I'll say, all right, God, you got this. Spirit, do whatever you do and let me know. You know where to find me. And, I'm good with it. But I'm not sure how much letting go. Or maybe I let go and then when it shows up, I'm like, what just happened? How does this fit into the picture? And I know it does. I know it does, because it wouldn't come my way if it didn't. It's just, and it's kind of funny, but it stops me in the moment. But again, I need to go back and say, it's about that manifestation thing. I sometimes, maybe all the time, I don't know, have a vision of what the manifestation is supposed to look like, but I don't see all the twists and turns that they manifest on the way to it. So, it's a lot. It's fun lot, but I just couldn't wait to bring that to everybody, because it's always more than you think.
I'm going to take this back to an agricultural metaphor, which we love doing, because the creative process that creates everything in the universe is replicated in the plant life cycle. So we talk about that creative law, that creative medium, this divine spirit that creates everything. That's like the soil. And then there is a seed that gets planted in the soil. And that seed is planted by the infinite, and the soil begins to grow it, and then a crop comes forward. And the process that we get to engage with is that we start in the first step of a practical prayer by identifying that there is that one infinite creative power that's creating everything. And in the second step, we use our intellect to remind ourselves that since it created everything, it created us. And since there's only that creative process that continues to repeat and unfold and do its thing, that's the same creative process that we're using. We have access to that creative power. And then we plant a seed. And we plant the seed into that creative soil, that same creative soil that we share with all of creation, everything. And then it shows up in our life. And as part of the planting process, what we're going to do is we're going to plant the seed. We're going to be grateful in advance for the awareness of the process and for whatever is blossoming, whatever is coming up. And then we're going to let it go. And the letting go would be the same as planting the seed and then walking away. You do not need to supervise the garden or the farm and to organize how the germination and sprouting is going, because that's just, that ruins things. The interesting thing is, and this is something that people who are listening on the podcast won't be able to see, but I have left over from the talk I did this week, a seed. Okay? That's a real live seed. So, Carol, if I were to plant that seed, what do you suppose would come up?
Whatever the seed is for.
Well, you guess. You tell me what you want to grow, and I'll tell you whether you're going to get your wish or not. Because it looks a little like a pumpkin seed. But if you wanted to grow pumpkins, if you wanted to grow pumpkins, that would be not the right seed to plant. And if you were looking to grow zucchini, then that would be a good choice. But sometimes we reach for the seed that we think is going to grow the pumpkin, and it turns out we're planting a zucchini. There's nothing wrong with the process. It's just that we don't have all of the details, all of the information, all of the nuance available to us now. You know when you know that it's a zucchini? When the zucchini sprouts. Yeah. When you get a garden full of zucchini, it's like, oh, that wasn't a pumpkin. And that's part of the feedback cycle. That's the loop where we get to say, next time I want to have pumpkins, so let me go find a viable pumpkin seed so I can plant that. And then I will prepare the ground exactly the same way, maybe a little more space because they need more room. And when I go through the process again, it is now informed by what I did previously. Is the zucchini something bad? It's not what I expected. But it's not bad. It's just different. And so when what manifests for you is not what you had in mind, or you start thinking about manifesting and then suddenly there's a lot of zucchini. There's some, and look at this huge variety that I've got. This is more than I can handle. I've seen that happen in people's gardens. They planted way too many zucchini. They're trying to give it away to every neighbor, let me go to my kid's school and give them some zucchini because I got way too much.
Yeah. Okay, so you plant now here's the thing. I planted some zucchini, I suppose. I don't after your story, I'm not even sure now what I did.
You planted something. You grabbed your seed.
I grabbed my seed and I started, I absolutely know that I used to say, I know what the answer and what it's going to be, but I'm starting to see other possibilities as to what might grow out of that. And so now, is it normal? This is not doubt, because I didn't have to go back to any of the steps, but I thought for a minute, I'm not sure if that's exactly what I really wanted to happen, or I'm not sure which way I want it to happen. That's it. I know what I want to happen, and I had one, this is like, I got to do it this way. But now I'm seeing that, there might be another possibility. And so I'm sort of frozen. But in your example, you don't get to freeze, because the seed is planted and stuff is moving.
Oh, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Something is definitely going to happen. That is why it is so much better when we're doing a prayer, when we're engaging with this infinite creative power that creates galaxies. I mean, this is not limited to, what's showing up on my Amazon delivery. This is health, wealth, love, work, spirituality, all of it. And it's always working. And instead of saying, this is what I want to have, which we can do, it works. That's the classic manifesting, and we can manifest whatever it is that we're intending up to a degree. But what's even better to do is to understand, once I have that, this is how I'm going to feel. So now what I want to get is that feeling of success, of completion, of love, of harmony, of health and vitality, of creativity, whatever it is. That's the feeling I want to have. And that way we're not trying to outline for the universe what it's going to take to get us there. Because if I decide that I want to be healthy and vital, and I think that involves swimming laps 3 times a week, and then doing yoga every couple of days, and it turns out that I get to be friends with somebody who absolutely loves road cycling, and our schedules are completely compatible, and the season starts, and I don't wind up doing any of the things that I was going to do, but now I've got companionship, and I've got great exercise, and I'm feeling really fit without doing any of the things that I thought I was going to. And that's okay, because I'm feeling exactly the way I wanted to feel, and even better.
Yeah. Well, then that brings up the big F word, faith.
Faith.
Yes.
That F word.
That one. That one. How do you catch that? But yeah, it's faith. And I just had some chuckle moments. Even today, I broke routine and did something else. And it was a good thing, got a lot of information and downloads just kept coming. And I'm thinking, whew, I'm going to have to operate on faith on this one because it's too much for me to think about. Oh, that sounds so corny. But yeah.
But that's it. When we can have the faith and let go of the details, and open ourselves to whatever that feeling is, then what shows up can be so much more spectacular than what we had planned.
Yeah. But here you go too. And this is for everybody who's listening. I know I'm like talking about me a little bit, but when you think about it could be so much more spectacular, that's a wow moment, because I thought about that. When I said it could show up differently, it could show up way better than I expected. And I'm thinking, oh, I hadn't anticipated that it might even be better than I expected.
Yeah. My friend Reverend George Harris has a saying, let go of the how and get ready for the wow.
Yes. Yeah. And that's better than the one that I heard. Like you deal with the what and spirit or the universe deals with the how. But the wow didn't particularly anticipate or think or envision the wow. Just...
Yep. Let's take a break and continue with our discussion of watching our words and seeing what comes up. It's Reverend Bill letting you know that the Practical Prayer for Real Results class is now available on demand. That's right, you can take it at your own pace, anytime you want. All of the information is at BeTheLight.com. That's B-the-light.com. You know where to find that stuff. The class is 5 lessons, broken down into 18 modules, and you can take them at whatever pace is comfortable for you. As you work through the process, it starts out with the theory, goes into the practice, there are experiential activities and exercises, and at the end of the program, you will wind up with an understanding of how practical prayer works, and a practical prayer for yourself that will work to create transformation in your life. And as you know, it works for everything. Take a look at the class online at BeTheLight.com. There's a sample lesson so you can see how the class is going to work for you and then dive in. The great news is it's on sale now. You can register and save $20 off of the regular price. I'm looking forward to seeing you in class.
Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni.
We're talking about the words that we're using and the experiences that we are co-creating with the infinite, and how sometimes what we get is so much bigger than what we had in mind. So you were talking about how you really got to watch what you talk to me about.
Well, that and what I really, I thought, okay, I'm serious about that though. I did say that. I said, but if you're going to really continue to talk to him, you're going to have to adjust your scope of expectation, because it could be anything, it could be. And I think that's probably, unfortunately, I have to confess, that might be like the residuals of the control freak, because I'm willing to turn it over, but I'm not sure that I had in mind. I had big in mind, but, but God is bigger. The whole process is bigger, and it could turn out, it could produce something quite more than I expected or different. I don't think you don't define the wow. And I don't know what picture I'm painting here. I'm trying to say that it could go anywhere, and I was not thinking about that. And I wasn't I wasn't.
I absolutely hear you. And I don't know if I've told you this story before. I got sent for a root canal, which of course is not a happy story for anybody, but and I made the appointment. And the practice, there are several endodontists in the practice, and one of them is named Dr. Hurt. And I'm sure he's a great endodontist. I'm sure he would do a fabulous job. And I also understand that I am a metaphysician, and I believe that your word creates your experience. And for that reason, I personally am not going to go to Dr. Hurt for a root canal.
Right there with you.
Just me. Okay. And other people, that's not part of their awareness. It doesn't mean that to them. And that's fine, because it's different in their belief system. So it's not about being right or wrong. It's about understanding who we are and where we're starting from, so that when we open up to that newness, we're ready for whatever's showing up.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, for a moment I thought, can you not be ready? But if you're handling your prayer life in a, I want to say in a mature, organized way, as much as possible, you got to leave room for being ready, for something different. I think more than the outcome, the possible outcome of what I'm thinking about, I am just overwhelmed with being excited in learning or discovering that which I did not know. I'm not sure that it's changing anything, a little bit, but it's just that when you know more, it's like you do better when you know more. You do different. Yeah.
And it could be about knowing stuff out there, and it could be about knowing stuff about ourselves. So I had this reaction. It was a week or so between the time that I got the appointment and the time that I went in for the root canal. And I told a bunch of people, kind of were chuckling about it. And then I went in for the appointment, and the very capable, very gentle endodontist who did the procedure for me also explained everything in minute detail. So this is what happens, and it's going through a porcelain crown. She says, 1 time out of 100, the crown will crack and it'll need to be replaced. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm in the 99. That's easy. And then she said, when it gets to this part, there's a possibility of pain or infection, and that's maybe 20%. And I said, okay, I'm in the 80%. And I know enough about myself that if I had gone in with the belief that it's going to hurt, then I would have been the one. I would have been the one to let those other 99 people skate free with their porcelain crown. So, and as it turned out, because I knew who I was and what I was bringing to that, by a day later, I hardly even knew that I'd had it done. There was no pain. There was no complications. It was very smooth. And, my regular dentist office saying, hey, you need to come in for a follow-up. So it can be that easy. But if we say, oh, there's the thing, I don't believe that, and we're pushing against it, well, then that's what we're putting our energy into, and that's what we're going to get a response to. So when you open yourself up to, as you open yourself up to something new, and lots of stuff that's new comes in, it's like, well, okay, that was your answer.
Yeah, that's it. I like the part where you talked about yourself and your expectations. And when I'm going into something, it's medical or whatever, I don't worry about a whole lot of possibilities and all of this stuff. Some people read every horrible thing that could happen. I'm thinking, listen, this is not happening. I'm just going to get this and I'll be finished with it. And I'm going on. I mean, I'm going out of here like everybody else one day. But, I'm not going to spend the whole time worrying about everything terrible that could possibly happen and to happen to everybody that, other people knew. Come on, I'm trying to live here. I'm trying to flow without fear.
Here lies Bill, who died at 107 of nothing much. It's still a gravestone.
Yeah. But again, the God being the manifester, is that the way I should say it? The way you were explaining it?
It gets back into co-creation, because the infinite creates everything and can create anything and is going to create something. And we are free to have an idea, set an intention about what we want that to look like or feel like, especially what we want it to feel like. In which case, it's that same infinite creative process that's doing the manifesting, but we are cooperating with it. We're saying, we can drive anywhere. Let's drive over in that direction. We can have anything. Let's have apples. And it is such an infinitely grand power that it doesn't care. If there's a choice of oranges and apples and bananas, and we want apples, the infinite is still going to have all the oranges and all the bananas. Pair us up with the apples. That's fine. It doesn't matter. So we are co-creating. It is the infinite that's doing the actual creating, but we're partnering with it.
Exactly. And I was explaining that idea of co-creation not long ago in corporate terms or in business terms. And what each person knows what they bring to the table. It's agreement, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But you know what? In this scenario with God being your partner, you really can't size up what the other partner is bringing. You can't do it because it's too much. So the possibilities, and I hear you use this term a lot, infinite possibilities. I'm good with knowing, I'm imagining several possibilities, trying to get rid of the control thing, the freak thing, but it's probably some residuals there. Out of these 10 possibilities, any one of these 10 would be great. I can see those happening. But then what about these 5 over here that that I didn't think? Woo! And it's a good thing, but it's sobering in terms of just stand still and just imagine it being bigger than you thought. And I think that's part of recognizing the infinite power of God, of spirit, that it's more than you thought all the time. Yeah. So I'm again working with that. I think I got it now. Thank God. God is the manifester. I was like, okay, listen, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do at this point. I'm going to take in all of this that you, Farad, that you just let come, you downloaded. I'm going to take into consideration all of this. And in fact, I'm doing nothing because it's going to take me a while to wade through all of this. And I can't even imagine what you're doing on your part.
Yeah.
So
Well, harvest season comes along and you get to pick and harvest and keep and use what's come up for you.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's take another break and have and do a little prayer about co-creating and manifesting something spectacular.
Learn to put practical prayer to work in your life. The steps are simple to learn and let you begin to get real results to create the life of your dreams immediately. Reverend Bill Marchione's widely acclaimed book, Practical Prayer for Real Results, gives you a clear summary of the New Thought principles behind practical prayer and the series of easy-to-understand steps found in the most effective prayers from religions and spiritual practices all over the world and throughout history. Practical prayer is not a replacement for your religion or practice. It's a technique to make the work you do in consciousness even more effective. The book includes 40 prayers on various topics that you can adapt as needed and use as your own. Practical Prayer for Real Results is available in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook on Amazon or at b-the-light.com. That's b-the-light.com.
Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marchione. And I just want to comment on your commercial, sort of. You said magic is loose in
Magic is loose in the world. Yeah.
You know what? That is so deep because it could just happen. It's just not like magic is loose in the world. It's like, some magic could happen here.
Yeah.
It's like part of your atmosphere, your belief system. That's huge. Talk about that some other time. But it was really nice. When I heard that, I thought, ooh, okay.
Yeah. The science fiction novelist Arthur C. Clarke, who wrote 2001: A Space Odyssey, among other things, and also invented the communication satellite. That was the same guy. He once famously said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So the stuff, and the reason I say magic is loose in the world is there is stuff that we do not understand how it works, but it still works. Mm-hmm. And there are things that we take for granted that people even 25, 30 years ago would have thought, wow, how could that possibly ever happen? Yeah. What do you mean everybody is carrying around a little device in their pocket that lets you do video calls from anywhere on the planet? What's up with that? Mm-hmm. But here it is. So yeah, magic is loose in the world. And that's kind of what the prayer is going to be about today. We've been talking about manifesting and that it is God that is manifesting. And as Jesus said, it is not I, but the Father within who doeth the work. And it's the same thing, that we are not doing the manifesting. It is that divine power and presence, the Father within, that doeth the work. And we are co-creating, because when Jesus said, Lazarus, rise, or did any of the other healings that he did, he was the one who was saying what was going to happen. But he was very clear that it was the Father within that was doing it. And that's the same thing that we're saying. When we talk about manifesting, it's not that we're going to make something happen. And it's not even that by saying these affirmations that we are going to create something in the world. When we open ourselves up to a new belief, to the idea that this good that we are seeking is possible, that allows the power within, that divine presence, to create something new. And the cool thing is it works with everything. So this prayer will be for whatever anybody who is listening wants to have manifest in his or her life. So we turn away from the specifics in the world around us. That's looking at the world in the rearview mirror. That's telling us what we've already been doing, what we've already experienced. And when we are opening to something new, we turn away from that because it's informative. Being able to look in the rearview mirror tells us the road that we've been on, so we know how we got here. But that's not the important part. What we can do is turn away from that so we can open up to the awareness of the infinite range of possibilities in front of us. We don't have to stay on the same road that we've been on. We can take a turn. We can go up. We can go down. We can circle around. We are free to do anything. We're free to choose a new direction and go in that direction and bring about a new experience in life. And we're not doing it ourselves. As we open ourselves to a new destination, to the feeling of having arrived, to coming home to this new experience, that infinite creative power that creates everything is already responding to us. That divine presence that abides within, that creative power, starts creating that newness. So whether it's about our health and vitality and the comfort that we have in our physical bodies, whether it's about our prosperity and the experience of enoughness that we have in our financial affairs and in any area of our life, if it's about our relationships, our love of ourselves, of our romantic partner, of our children, of our family members, of our community, of our co-workers, it's about the creativity, the way that we're sharing ourselves, and the way that we get to express our uniqueness into the world and share those gifts and experience the benefit of bringing that goodness into the world. Whatever area it is, it's the same process. And the infinite creative power that creates everything is creating that newness for us and through us and as us. We are co-creating. It is the divine. It is that infinite creative power that's doing the manifesting. And we are setting the intention, opening the invitation for how we want that to feel, how we want that to look, what that wow is as it unfolds. And I know that each one within the sound of my voice is doing that right now, opening to that newness, letting go of what's no longer serving, and inviting in that new experience, that new feeling, whatever it is that we're describing as good. And knowing this is already unfolding, there's nothing to feel but gratitude. I'm so, so thankful for the wonderful way this is unfolding. I'm grateful for the goodness that's showing up for each of us in our own way. And I'm grateful for the way that this experience is serving to remind us of good and more good that's always available. Reminder that the process is always working. And so with a deep feeling of thanks, I speak this word and I release it into that creative law, the one that creates everything. And I know it now is creating this. And so I let it be. And so it is.
The Practical Prayer Podcast with Reverend Bill Marcioni and Carol Lawrence is a production of BeTheLight.com.
be-the-light.com,
where you can find more information about practical prayer for real results.
Our theme is by Music of Wisdom. You can learn about the spiritual community of New Thought Philadelphia with daily guided meditations,
Weekly celebrations of spirit,
and Reverend Bill's classes in practical spirituality
at newthoughtphilly.org.
This podcast is supported by listeners like you. We're grateful for your tax-deductible donation at newthoughtphilly.org or the link in the episode description.